Gordon's returning to Paris to revisit some of the places where he lived and trained.
Back in Paris. I love coming to Paris. This time, of course, I've got a bit more than 100 francs a week to spend. It's interesting. I used to come here when I was learning to speak French, and I used to sit down on those benches there. Because I didn't have much money in those days, I used to concentrate on Saturday and Sunday with my lingophone. I used to sit there like a right tourist, practice French, and then just sit and mumble, talk to myself and feed the pigeons. Not very exciting, but it was interesting. Look at it. Absolutely beautiful. One of the most stunning cities in the world, and I can just see all those Michelin stars twinkling all over the city. Right in the centre of Montmartre, as you can see, we're absolutely surrounded and inundated with artists. Be very careful here because this is where one of the biggest rip-offs take place in Paris, unfortunately. Stay away from all these so-called intimate brasseries and bistros. They're not very pleasant. Get off the main square, go down behind the Montmartre, down to Rue Gabriel. There's some stunning brasseries, great bistros, but stay away from the most sort of tourist attraction because it's very expensive and what you're paying for is not very nice at all. Sorry. Since I opened my restaurant, and I've been cooking for, what, 12, 14 years now. In fact, 13 years. I've never sat still for 25 minutes in my life. Never. It's very relaxing, in one sense. Very, very soothing. I may give Guy Savoy a call, ask him to come over and get the same done. Although I don't think he'll ever sit still for longer than 10 minutes, let alone 25. Every time I come back to Paris and I think about the hard times financially, the pressure at work, the bad level of French that I could never speak, and now I'm sat here having my picture drawn for 250 francs. You know, that's like 3 weeks shopping money. I'd have to survive on that money. In that sense, it's nice. It's nice to come back, and it's quite touching, really, because it played a huge influence in my foundation of cooking, and I hold a lot of fantastic memories here. And it's just nice being so close to Paris because now I can come back and really properly enjoy it and eat out in some fantastic restaurants, as opposed to having to go and work for them now for a year behind the scenes. It's quaint, it's a very romantic city, and it's full of life, and it's buzzing 24 hours a day. The moment of the truth. Very nice.
Yep.
Yeah, very good. I look a bit tired, but that's quite normal. I got used to that since an 18-year-old. No, it's nice. And yeah, nice present from Mum. I'll send it straight away as soon as I get back. This is the most exciting part about Paris. The produce, the level of produce, the standard is absolutely phenomenal. And the reason the standards are so high is because the public demand is total perfection. Here on this little boucherie, we've got a range of some beautiful poulet bresse. We've got little poussin, baby chicken. They're actually making their own saucisson. They've got their own little farci of meat in crepinettes. Next to that, they've got their own homemade boudin blanc. Also, you know, for 40 francs, £4 each, we've got some wonderful pigeon from Bresse. Little saucisson de lapin, which is nice. And that's sausages made out of all the livers from the rabbit. Moving along, we've got some lovely cuisse de canard, some beautiful legs of duck. Suprême de canard. It's just a very rare sight to find such brilliant produce locally. Going down to even the calf's liver. Here they have wonderful calf's liver. They slice it for you. They'll tell you how, you know, how would you like it cut? Thick, thin, wafer thin. You tell them. But you know, coming to a market like this and having your own calf's liver actually sliced in front of you is fantastic. You can't beat it. Just over here we've got some little baby duck, the Canaton Sauvage, wild baby duck. They've all been plucked and ready. Guinea fowl, and then those wonderful box of quails, 10 francs each, so £1 each. I mean, that's nothing. £1 each per quail. It's fantastic. We're smack bang in the middle of Boulevard Saint-Germain. This is in the 5th arrondissement, and you know, there's traffic buzzing away. The market's about an hour away from closing now. It must have been absolutely packed here this morning. And everyone's running around snapping up the produce ready for the weekend. This is what we need more back in the UK. Unfortunately, we don't have markets of this standard. You know, I've got to go to great extreme to buy pigeon from Bresse, poulet Bresse. I've got to go to great lengths to buy brilliant vegetables. And this is what we need more of. Juste meilleure chose. Les places. Ouais. Ouais. Combien? Ouais.
Le plus intègre.
Celui-là, c'est un pigeon de Bresse.
Non,
c'est
ça,
un
ce sont
pigeon.
de jeunes pigeons, ce qu'on appelle des pigeonneaux, qui viennent du Morbihan. Ce sont des pigeons bretons, on va dire.
D'accord.
Voilà.
Mais c'est le même standard, c'est presque le même de...
On a du mal à trouver des pigeonneaux de Bresse. On trouve de la volaille de Bresse, mais des pigeonneaux de Bresse sont un produit rare.
D'accord.
Vraiment rare.
Les marchés à l'Angleterre, ça n'existait pas comme ici. C'est dommage.
Ouais.
Nous, on a un problème maintenant à l'Angleterre avec les grands monoprix.
Oui, des grandes surfaces.
C'est ça.
Absolument. Nous aussi en France.
The interesting thing about what Pierre just explained is the fact that the public demand and his local clientele will always keep the standard of the baby, you know, market here, because in England we have this problem with the supermarkets. Here there's too great a demand for the standard of produce, which they can't get in supermarkets. He has a market 5 mornings a week here. All his produce will be gone within the next 2 or 3 hours. And you know, he's been here 10 years, so he has a fantastic business, and this will never disintegrate because the public demand for standards is paramount, and that's important. Best end of lamb, which is going to be cooked in herbs, served with peau lentils, and garnished with a potato rosti. Something that we should never be scared of doing because it's a very simple, straightforward potato cake. Problems? Sometimes they always make them too thick, so therefore they're very soggy in the centre and crisp on the outside, but there's gooey texture in the centre. We want it crisp in the centre, crisp on the outside, and most importantly, keep it thin. Of course, keeping it thin, it cooks quicker. That's pretty obvious. When it becomes thick, then it's very difficult to cook in the centre, and the most important thing, of course, is to prevent it from becoming watery. So this little gadget here is a Chinese mandolin. Obviously can be found in Chinatown, and these are large Jersey potatoes peeled and just put on this little very intriguing little gadget, and then just wind through your potato like so. You've got all this long rude hullet Rastafarian potatoes. Potato into your bowl. If all fails, of course, you can grate this. It's almost like a classic bubble and squeak. You can grate the potatoes, but look for a mandolin because they are good fun, very versatile, and very easy to use. So, as always, nicely seasoned. Salt and pepper, like so. Bit of butter. This has just been brought up to the temperature, and we're just going to coat the potato. When you heat your butter, let the clarified butter rise to the top. Don't add that milk. If you add the milk in to the potatoes, then it will become soggy, and we just look for clarified butter. So, fingers in. Most important, you've got to coat the potatoes with the butter. If you don't coat the potatoes with the butter, then they'll oxidize, they'll start to discolor, and it won't be a very pleasant potato cake. Non-stick pan, touch of olive oil in. Don't forget we're going to cook in olive oil and butter. Swirl round, and then we make these potato cakes individually. Here we're going to make a large one which we can cut up to 4 or 6 portions. Nicely season with the potato, just drain off any excess water there, and then non-stick pan smoking, and then very carefully just break away, snapping away, and just placing the potato into the pan. And then just very, very carefully start to push down. And I'm just going to place that back into the centre of the stove to get nice and hot. Little to season, just to make sure that we get it nicely seasoned inside. Before you turn it, take advantage and season. Around the outside of the pan, I'm going to put some fresh butter, because all we've had so far, of course, is the olive oil, and we just want to put a bit of butter there, some butter there, some butter there, and leave it to seep around the outside. If we put the butter straight into the centre, it will go soggy, because the temperature is very, very hot on the outside, and of course we don't want to cool down the pan too quickly. Now the potato is nice and crispy on the bottom. It's been half cooked. It's beautifully coloured underneath. And the most important thing about this is it's so delicate, so you can only turn it once. We're not going to flip it like a pancake because that's too dangerous. And of course we want to be more practical and less dangerous in kitchens, because it's very, very silly to flip that with all that hot oil in the pan. Palette knife underneath the potato, and just fingers on there, very quickly, over. And then back into the centre of the stove. Look at that beautiful colour. It's crispy on the outside. Take advantage now of seasoning it again, because don't forget we've lost half of that throughout the cooking process. Nicely sprinkled with salt. And then we're going to do the same procedure with the butter around the outside of the potato cake, like we did at the beginning. This has been taken off the bone, marinated for 3 hours in thyme, rosemary and olive oil. The nice thing about this, it's very tender. It doesn't take a long time to cook. It takes about 5 or 6 minutes. We're going to brush it with egg yolks and then sprinkle it with herbs. And the important part for this dish, of course, is the fact that we have to be very, very careful on cooking the lamb, because it's something that cooks very, very easily. We're just going to brush it very lightly with egg yolks. We're doing this because we want the herbs to stick. If we didn't brush it with egg yolk, then the herbs will leave in the cooking process, and we've just got this very plain, boring fillet of lamb, nicely seasoned. A nice generous sprinkling of herbs. Inside here we've got some flat parsley, some chervil, and finally some chives. Then after that we're just going to roll it around a tray, get all these beautiful herbs to stick to the lamb, like so. And that's going to cook and almost form this nice little herb crust. Non-stick pan, olive oil, nice and hot. Roll the olive oil around the pan, can of lamb, skin side down. Touch of fresh butter, just to help moisturise the herbs. And nicely seal. Again, seasoning, because we're going to lose half of the seasoning in the cooking process. Look at that, beautiful. The herbs are nicely coloured. The butter's not too hot. It's becoming nice and sealed on the outside. And now we're just going to pull it off to the side. And look at the colour of the butter. That's the important part. We don't want it black. We want it golden brown. The minute you start to see that go black, then you know you've taken it too far. Take it out, put some fresh butter in there, and start the whole process again. Okay. A bit more fresh butter. Ooh. And then again, just baste. The reason why we keep on adding all this butter is we're just cooling the process down. We're preventing the existing butter from burning. We don't want the herbs to over-colour and become bitter. So we're adding every 3 or 4 minutes just a touch of fresh butter to bring down the temperature of the pan and to create this wonderful froth that helps to cook the lamb even quicker. Leave the best end of the lamb there to cool down for 2 minutes. The garnish is going to be some lentils, cabbage, finished with some carrots, shallots and leek. The interesting thing about this dish is the actual sauce is self-contained. We're going to make like a very light ragu of lentils. Starting off first with a touch of butter. In with the carrots, shallots, and then finally your leeks. Naturally seasoned, of course. And just let them come down, get nice and soft. In this pan here, we're going to blanch the cabbage, but we're going to blanch it in water and butter at the same time. Hot pan, water in, and then cabbage, like so. Let the water evaporate, and then glaze with your butter. So we're actually cooking the cabbage in an emulsion, which is 50% water and 50% butter. Very, very, very similar to how you cook pasta. And it's important to cook it quickly to retain the colour and obviously the freshness. Now the vegetables have cooked inside, we're going to add our lentils. These have been cooked in water, thyme flowers, nicely seasoned, and then spooned in to your vegetables like so. And you'll see why we call it a ragu, because we're going to mix the cabbage, the lentils and the vegetables together. It's important to cook the lentils beautifully. Just let them open slightly. Don't cook them on too strong a heat so they burst. Just gently simmering away on the stove for about 8 to 10 minutes, drained, and then of course finished in butter, as we're doing. Nicely seasoned. And just test that, because lentils have a lot of water, so, you know, be careful and test. Make sure they're nicely seasoned. That's delicious. A touch more salt. And now we're ready for the cabbage. As you can see, the nice cabbage has absorbed our butter. It's absorbed the water, and it's got this beautiful, nice glaze, and it's shiny. It's just cooked. It still holds that crunch. We're going to add that in to the lentils, like so. And then just very carefully mix those two up together. You can see we've retained the colour of our cabbage. It's nice and green. Mixed beautifully like that. And then the interesting part, we're going to bring back up the temperature of both the lentils and the cabbage, back into the centre of the stove, and this is where we're going to add our very light lamb stock to bring this ragu together. Lamb stock straight in. Just covering the lentils, don't drown it, because we just want to cover them. Up to the boil, and as you can see now, how we formed almost our little ragu with the cabbage, the vegetables and the lentils, and great, the seasoning, touch more pepper, a little salt, and then finally, just to enhance the flavour, some nice fresh chopped chives and a little chopped chervil. Okay, the lamb has rested. It's nice and tender, still coated with these beautiful herbs on top. These here, don't throw them away. Don't dare throw them away. Those are going to go into the lentils, like so, and that's going to give that little extra boost. Lamb, nicely sliced into little rondelles. Careful, of course, because on top we've got those beautiful herbs which have been cooked with the fillet of lamb. And then just see how Tender, very pink, nicely seasoned. The lamb is very aromatic. And now to serve with your ragu of lentils in the centre of the bowl, just like so. We're going to serve a lot of that juice because that's where all the flavours are. As you saw, we put in the resting juices of our lamb. Place your fillet around the outside, like so. And that is so tender, it's almost disintegrating in my fingers. Sprinkle generously with your lentils, and then finally, wonderful potato cake. Just set that on the side because it's nice and crunchy. We want to keep it nice and crisp. And here we have our lovely best end of lamb cooked with pre-lentils, garnished with a potato rosti. Bon appetit. Back at the Jaman. Oh, amazing memories here. This is where I learned to make perfect pommes puree. Pommes puree, as we know, mashed potatoes. This was the hardest kitchen I've ever worked in, ever. It's Saturday. Obviously, you know he's closed Saturday, Sunday. Robuchon retired 2 years ago. The existing head chef, Benoit, has taken over. And so we thought we'd come and have a little sneaky preview today whilst they're on their days off. The menu still hasn't changed. There's 2 or 3 new dishes there. Very, very cheap for lunch. 375 francs. It's about 35, 40 pounds a head. I can't believe they put 15% service on there, but it's not the same. Robuchon has retired. It doesn't look the same. There's this eerie feeling about it, and you know, I had a great memory here. Brilliant training, and for me, one of the toughest and the best chef in the world, and I'm glad I worked under him before he retired. My old front door. That's where I used to live. I spent just over a year. Very, very up bottom of them. Still as polite as ever. Yeah, lived there for a year. Very, very expensive. I don't want to hang around here too long because you know, I still owe the landlord a bit of money. So you know, I got a dash.